Hello and welcome to the Sound Lab podcast interviews unedited. On today's show, we have interviews from Midge Ure, Electric Six, AC Scott, Sean Griffin, and we throw back in time to have a chat with One Ok Rock. So without further ado, let's kick off with our first interview, and it comes from Midge Ure. Had a chat with him about music and more, and this is what he had to say. So Midge Ure, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Very good.
Good, that's great to hear. So we've been playing a single of yours called Just Words. Tell us a bit about the single, first of all.
Well, is it a single? It's funny. I think they call it a lead track now. Singles used to be something you actually hold in your hand and go out and buy. But it's a track. I suppose it maybe entices people into checking out the album. So it's the first track that's been played from the new album, A Man of Two Worlds. And the song itself is fairly straightforward. It's just reminding people that words are only words, that until somebody acts upon them. So words can be used for, consoling, or they can be used as a weapon. And we look out our windows or watch our televisions or read our newspapers or scroll through our, mobile phones or social media and see words being used as weapons all the time. So it's reminding people that they only remain words as long as they stay that way. It's not until you act upon them, either for the good side or the bad side, that things get a bit hairy.
Yeah, no, nice to hear. And that is, as mentioned, off your new record, A Man of Two Worlds, which is coming out 8th of May, which is a little bit different because it's a double album. Tell us what we can expect on it.
Well, I found myself, because I write totally alone, when I'm not touring, I've got to be in the studio to write music. And when I'm writing songs, I don't sit down with a guitar and a piano or whatever and write an entire song, then go and record it like normal people. I go in with an idea and I create the entire thing, the production, the elements, all the different counter melodies, all of that stuff, and the lyrics all come eventually, and I end up with a song. But the only way I can tell if it's any good or not is to walk away from it and do something else, and then go back to it in the cold light of day. Well, during lockdown, of course, I couldn't do that. So instead of walking away from it, I decided to put a different hat on and start recording instrumental music, which I've done in the past, but never had that kind of time to put the effort in and do it properly. So I would bounce between a song, an instrumental piece. So I ended up making 2 albums. And it wasn't until recently that I played it to a musician friend of mine who said, they're not 2 albums, it's 1 album. It's a body of work that belongs together. Both sides need to be there in the one thing. And that really appealed to me, the idea of putting out a double record, but it's a record of 2 halves, the songwriting and the music side of things.
And you mentioned that you've done instrumentals in the past, and on your records you seem to put 1 or 2 onto each record. But when you write that instrumental track, do you ever try to add vocals and lyrics to it, or do you know it's going to be an instrumental track when you're kind of
I know it's a different process. As I say, when I write a song, I might only have a word or a one line, an idea of what it is you want to write about. And over that evolving period, as you're working on that song, the story and how you get to that point comes. It's like, I suppose a murder mystery writer would have the idea of, how the murder happened, but no idea how you get there. And then they work on that and they weave it through until you get to the conclusion. But with an instrumental piece, you've got to start with a feeling. You've got to start with this is what I got. Looking out the window or reading that book or watching that movie, it kind of inspired me. And you know that you've got to write something that will still take the listener on that journey through its conclusion, through what would have been a chorus or might have been a link or a midsection or something, but do it all without words, so that each individual listening to it, each consumer as they're listening to it, all at the same time can have different images in their head and different storylines as to what it is the music's actually saying. So it's a very different process. It's not just like, I couldn't be bothered writing the lyrics, so that'll be an instrumental. That'd be easy,
Yeah, no, for sure. And the sound that you've made with this record, was it the sound you wanted, or was it kind of just how it turned out as you were writing it?
I don't think I sit down and go, well, this is what I'm trying to achieve. I'm trying to achieve this kind of sound. It evolves. I've got there's almost an infinite amount of sounds you can access these days. It's not just down to your piano and your guitar or your synthesizer and your guitar. There are libraries of sounds from all over the world that you can incorporate if you want. So you're not quite sure how it's going to come out. The songs took on a life of their own. They've got a feel and an essence about them. The instrumentals, I wanted them to sound like it was a bunch of people playing together in a big room. So they're ambient, and you can hear clunking and noises and the piano hammer keys hitting the notes and stuff. And none of it's kind of completely locked in, which makes things sound like a band. So they're slightly out of time with each other, and it's got a looseness to it, and it speeds up a little bit and then pulls back, which is not what I would normally do in a song. So yeah, I'd set out to get that kind of atmosphere. But the overall thing, because they were both recorded at the same time, side by side and sync with each other, there is an essence, there is an overall sound that makes it a kind of combined effort. It makes it one record.
And with those kind of nuanced live elements you were talking about, do you think you'll use them going forward and continue in that fashion, or do you think you'll go back to the more clean cut sound?
I'm not quite sure, because I'm never sure what I'm doing anyway. It's like there is no plan. I don't sit down with a big book and say, right, well, in 6 months' time I'm going to do this, and then in a year's time I'll do that. That's never worked for me, because something always comes along and sets you off on a detour. You never achieve. It's a bit like when we first got synthesizers back in the day with Ultravox, and you would think, right, I know the kind of sound that I want, and you would start working on trying to find that sound. But you'd end up with something that was completely different because it was more interesting than what you'd thought of. So you never quite got to your destination, as it were. So I'd never write it all down. So I've no idea what the next record or next recording or next project will be. It will unfold like everything has done so far.
Yeah, and you've been releasing solo music since mid-'80s. You've been writing and releasing music with Ultravox and that before then. How have you and how has the music of yours evolved over those years?
I think the music evolves anyway. I think as you get older, you get more experience. You've got different things to talk about or different expressions to make. Technology has changed a vast amount in that period. It used to be you had to wait until a record label would, advance you some money before you could get anywhere near a studio. Now you can record an album in your laptop, in your bedroom. The preciousness of the recording has changed completely. So it's kind of open to everyone now, but it's now become a much more difficult place, the music world, to, once you've created something, to just stick it on the internet. How do you get someone and point them towards what you've put up there? Because there's a myriad of stuff going up there every day, every moment, thousands, millions of things going up on the internet. And so how do you get an audience to find that? So these days, I suppose if you were starting out, it would be a different skill set you would need. You still need the musical skill set to create, but you'd also have to be good at social media or video editing or, recording at home or any of those things. So it's equally different and equally difficult, I think, starting out. So I'm kind of lucky that I've been there all the way through to this point.
Yeah, no, for sure. And not only on the 8th of May do you release your album, but you start your tour across the UK. I bet you can't wait to be doing some more shows.
Well, the tour, and I've completely confused everyone by calling the tour and the album the same title, You're a Man of Two Worlds. But the tour came first. The idea of the tour came, last year when I talked about wanting to perform more of my already recorded older instrumental tracks on stage. I don't get an opportunity to play them very often. So the idea of incorporating those in with the hits and the album tracks that people love, all of that stuff, I had to figure out a way of doing that. Then, of course, I realised that I wanted to release this new material. It was done. I decided to put them both together and put it out as one album. But the description of the title for the tour was really good for the album as well. Although, I might not play much of the new album on the tour. I might not play any of it. I'm not quite sure yet. But it's confused people. So as long as people don't think that they're going to come and see me and they'll sit there for an hour hearing non-stop brand new material that nobody's heard yet, that's fine.
Yeah, and obviously, I think you're 9 records in now, solo wise. How are you putting your set list together? Because you mentioned about the instrumentals and kind of prioritizing those, but there's a lot of music of yours to get into a set.
There's a lot to get through. I mean, the wonders of social media, the good stuff is that people tell you what they'd like to hear or what you haven't heard. And you've got to think, well, there are certain songs that you've kind of got to play. They expect it. 50% of the audience don't really want to be there because they're there with other halves who do want to be there. So they're just being polite. And they might only know the big hits. So you think, I've got to cater for them as well. They've got to hear something that resonates with them. So you've got the old stuff, you've got the stuff that you want to play, you've got the stuff that the hardcore fans want to play, which might be different from the new people that have come on board because they've heard your music on a video game or on a Netflix movie or something. So you've got to try and tick all those boxes for a person, but you've still got to make yourself happy. And hence the idea of being able to do the instrumental stuff, some of the instrumental stuff that I wanted to play. So right now, I have a concept of how it will work, but I won't realise that concept until I get into rehearsals. So I've talked through it with the musicians, and we think we can do it. Technically, it's a bit of a difficult thing, but I think we'll pull it off.
Yeah, nice. And I'm sure the answer to my next question is going to be one of those instrumental tracks, but you've released so much music. There's probably tracks that you've not played since the mid 80s or never at all. Is there any that you've kind of never played that you kind of want to squeeze into a set at some point because they're a personal love to you?
Of course, sometimes you just don't get the opportunity. On the last tour, I played 2 or 3 things that I'd never performed. At least I don't remember performing before. All the way back to the Rich Kids. We opened up with a Rich Kids song from 1977, and you think, well, oh, yeah, I remember playing it with them, but I've never played it since. So yes, there are certain things that you can pull out your past and kind of polish up again. Songs are like your children. You love them, they're yours, you created them, it's fantastic. But sometimes you don't like them very much. And you go on and off songs. So what you think you don't like, when you hear it in the cold light of day again, you go, oh, hold on a second, this is different. It resonates again with you. So I've dug quite a few of those out over the years, and I'll be digging some out for this tour as well.
Nice. Yeah, that's good to hear. And this tour's taken you throughout May into June, but you've also got some more dates in November now. Are you hoping to add any more dates this year into your diary?
God, I would think not. I mean, I was quite surprised that we'd added more dates at the end of the year, which is fine. It's okay because it's you want to take it as many places as possible. But I think we've fairly well covered it all now. So it'd be time. By the time the end of the year comes, I'll be looking forward to doing something different.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's been a fair few years since you did anything with the guys of Ultravox. I think the last record was 2012, which you're on a hiatus or a break again now. Have you spoken to the guys about kind of doing anything again in the future, or any thoughts in your mind about it?
No, when we got back together again, there was 12, 13 years ago, it was simply to go out and play the old songs again. It was a kind of reminiscence. It was, making up. We'd moved apart individually, and it was a nice way of going back and kind of sealing the deal. We had no intention of going back as a permanent band again. Although we did end up making a new album, which was a nice way to leave things, and I think that's maybe how we'll leave it.
No, fair enough. And it's not only that Ultravox you've been a part of, Rich Kids, Thin Lizzy as well. How do you kind of, in your mind, kind of know where you're at now, where you are in the music and the influences you've had by being parts of different bands like those?
I think they all connect with you. You don't, I'm not a musical tart. You don't just go and sell your soul to the devil because it happens to be paying your wage. I was fortunate to do all of that stuff. The rich kids bought a synthesizer, it killed the band, but I formed Visage out of that. I joined Ultravox out of that. And while I just joined Ultravox, I got the opportunity to go on tour with Thin Lizzy, which was great. I remember seeing Thin Lizzy as a three-piece band way, way back when I was a kid. So I'd fallen in love with Philip's voice and his songwriting and all of that stuff. So all of those things were just, it's like being on a conveyor belt. You think, I don't know what's coming next. This stuff just keeps happening to me. It's wonderful. So there's none of that I absolutely regret. But all those moments stick with you. You learn from them. You move on. You're growing up. As we grow up, we get older, but our tastes change, our opinions change. What we like changes. But those influences, the things you heard when you were a kid on the radio, the things, your first record you ever bought, the first band you saw live, all of that stays with you, and it helps mold who you become, who and what you become, and those elements are all still there.
Yeah, no, nice. And finally, there's a lot of people trying to get into the music scene themselves, but you've been around for a while. Have you got a piece of advice that you'd want to pass on to anyone who wants to get into the music scene?
It's a difficult journey, so you better have a thick skin and a lot of tenacity. But if you do it, the only advice I can give you is not to believe anything that's written or said about you. Good or bad, because one person will call you a genius, and the person next to them will think you're an absolute moron, and there's nothing you can do about it. All you can do is satisfy yourself.
And I hope you enjoyed the interview there with Midge Ure to talk about new music and more. Now, we are all over social media, so come and find us at The Sound Lab, yes, on all the socials. You can also check out the website, thesoundlabuk.co.uk. So while you go and check us out on all the socials and give us some follows, of course, we've got our next interview from Electric Six. They've been busy releasing new music and they're heading out on tour as well. We had a chat with them all about it. So Electric Six, how are you?
I'm good. So you just pressed record for the interview, and I noticed the on-air thing behind you did not light up.
It did not. No, sadly,
Yeah,
it's not connected.
that's
But
that's just window dressing.
yeah, no, I do that all in post edit. That's all. Yeah, all the frills come
Yeah.
later.
That's pretty cool.
Now we've been playing a new single of yours called One. Tell us a bit about the single, first of all.
Oh, sure, yeah. So we've re-released our fourth album on vinyl. I shall restrict everything around me that restricts me from being the master. And we put like 5 bonus tracks on there. One is the classic Harry Nilsson song that we recorded around that time, made it very new metal, very heavy metal. It was, I believe, pitched to a video game advert, and I honestly don't remember if we got the job or not. I can't recall. We've had so much success in life that I don't remember all the successes I've had. So yeah, but that's why we recorded it, and it sounds great. I mean, it's a really, I mean, you take a song like that and you reimagine it, reinterpreted it with heavy metal guitars, big sounds. Yeah, it's good fun. It's a bit of fun.
Yeah, yeah, nice. And what was the reason behind remastering and re-releasing this record with the bonus tracks on?
Well, sure. It's just our record label. They have ideas, and vinyl is hot. Everyone wants to, albums that weren't available on vinyl like from 15 years ago. People, let's re-release them on vinyl. Let's all turn up some interest, make a little money along the way. And I think we picked that album just because it's one of our stronger records. I remember in the email with the label, they were like, the title of the record suits our vision as a record label, quite, so all these factors, I guess. We don't stand in the way of any vinyl re-releases ever. So I'm glad it's happening, and hopefully there'll be more.
Yeah, no, fingers crossed for that. And how easy or how difficult was it to create new elements or remaster tracks that have been out for so long to create kind of new versions of?
That's easy on my end. It was incredibly easy because I had nothing to do with it. So you're asking the wrong guy. I don't know. I just kind of sat here and continued to look at I was looking at the internet, much like I'm doing now. I'm looking at you. You're on the internet.
And obviously you've got the tracks that have been reworked, but you created some extra tracks to go alongside it. What about those? Were they easy to kind of made sure that they linked with what had been out previously?
I think most of them were recorded around the time that we did that record, so it's just kind of outtakes, B-sides, what have you from that time. So that's all it is. It's just, when you're coming up with new tracks, you can either go into the studio and record a new track in real time, but many of us have kids now, and there's just only so many hours in the day. So let's just go into the computer and see what exists from way back when.
Yeah, fair enough. And it's been a couple of years since your last full record in Turquoise. How did that go down with the fans?
I think good. I think it's a strong record. We've been touring quite heavily for it for the last 3 years, and I can still get away with saying this is a song off our latest record, and people go, So, for us, 3 years between records is an eternity. The good news is we have a definite plan in place to get to the next record. It has been, again, you go back to the kids. A couple of us have two kids. Everybody has at least one kid. It's just the days of doing one record per year are pretty much over for this reason, and also the fact that we did 15 albums. I mean, we don't have to do any more. We can certainly tour as a legacy band if we want to, and but we all have the fire to put out new stuff, and there's definitely ideas, songs out there, demos being made. So if you have ideas and you can make it work, let's make it work.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And with a plan in place going forward, where's your mindset at the moment with the next release?
Sure. I mean, hopefully next year. I mean, we're gonna do the bulk of the recording. I think in January of 2027. We're doing demos along the way. Um, Selfishly, I have a new solo record coming out very soon, so I'll plug that.
Do
I'm
it.
gonna announce. I'm gonna announce the title and the tracks the next week, I believe. So and then I'm touring the
Well, you can
UK in
tell me
September.
because I'm not going to put it out before then. So
When are you putting this out?
after then, so yeah, don't worry. You can tell me.
Oh, cool, cool. Yeah, yeah. So the album is called Anxiety Dogs. It's my 11th solo album. And I'm doing a record release show in at the Outpost in Liverpool on June 15th. And then I'm doing a full-blown solo acoustic tour in September, October of the UK. So those dates are being announced as well. And I'll I used to self-release them, but now I have a vinyl outfit in the States that does the vinyl end of it called Shortwave Records. So the record will be available in late May on I sell the CD, Shortwave sells the vinyl, and then the digitals will be out there. So that's the idea there. I'm pretty proud of this record. I think it's my strongest one yet. I always say that, but that just means I'm doing good work.
No, you need to say it as well, otherwise you're going backwards.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And I like to talk about the writing process as well. So for you, how do tracks normally start off?
I'd say 85% of the time on acoustic guitar. I live in Brooklyn. We live in a 16 unit apartment building. I have neighbors everywhere. I can't make a whole lot of noise here. So generally my songwriting is just on quiet acoustic guitar, and then kind of flesh it out in the studio with louder guitars. Maybe and every now and then I write on piano or synthesizer as well. But for me it's usually a quieter process, no matter how heavy or loud the songs end up being. And that's generally where I start from.
Nice. And the world of lyrics and the world of music are quite different worlds. How straightforward do you find it to kind of merge the two?
Music and lyrics.
Mm.
Um, Not difficult. I mean, I've always been very lyric centric. That's, and it was a long process for me to realize how many people in music don't really care about lyrics. And I'm like, I went into music like wanting to hear a hooky poppy song and good lyrics. And a lot of people go into music wanting to hear this guitar tone or that guitar tone or that drum tone, and the mix needs to be perfect. And I've just never been like that. So it's just been it's been a long journey for me to understand that that those things are important to people when they never really were to me. So.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And obviously, with solo record coming and the work with Electric Six, what's it like for you writing wise when it comes to the solo stuff compared to the band stuff? Are they different, or is it kind of how does it work for you?
It can be both. I mean, there's definitely spillover from Anxiety Dogs that I'll take to the E6 sessions in January. The 3 or 4 songs that I like was writing for the solo record that didn't make it, so like I think they'd work as E6 songs. Conversely, there's a song on Anxiety Dogs that like I probably could have given to the band and they would have like probably even made it better, but maybe they wouldn't have, and I didn't want to take that risk, so I made it a solo song. So it just kind of depends on how much control I want over it, because most of the time if I take an idea and give it to the band, they make it better, and I trust them on that. But every now once in a blue moon, I'm like, God damn it, I should have done that myself. So it's just a matter of what song and what you're feeling at the time.
Yeah, no, for sure. And people will want to see you playing some shows. You've touched on some already, but you've had a busy year so far. How have the shows been going?
Fantastic. We just did Australia and New Zealand. It's a lot of fun to tour down there. It's we're very hashtag blessed that we get to do that as often as we have lately. And yeah, we have some shows in the States and Canada coming up, and then after that, we're playing Download Festival in the UK, and then some club dates around that, and then back again for our usual November, December year-end run. So yes, it is busy, and I still can't get my head around it, how long this band has been going, and how people still buy tickets, and like we're getting older, much older, so much older than before, yet people look at us like we're some sort of flamethrower. We're just not. We're definitely slowing down and having prostate exams and colonoscopies, but the crowds don't reflect that.
No, yeah, I can well imagine. And you touched on your dates. You've got festivals, you've got some smaller club shows, you've got some of the big shows. How do you cater your sets depending on the venue and who's going to be there?
Usually festival sets are a little bit shorter, and everyone there is going to be shit faced, so yeah, you just have to play gay bar over and over again, and you're fine. And then in the clubs, it depends. We try to do deep cuts from all the records. Lately, since we haven't had a new release in 3 years, what we've been doing is looking back at the 15 records we do have, and like half the songs we've never played before. Generally we put out a new album, we would play 3 or 4 songs off of it, then move on to the next record. So now like you just have a trove of like songs from album 7, album 6 that you never played live, and we're kind of revisiting those and like dusting them off and seeing if they work, and that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. And with all those records out there, is it difficult at times to work out what tracks to put into the set?
Not really. We just we kind of like have a group text, and yeah, I was listening to this song the other day. It's a jam. Let's do it. And everyone's like, "Sweet, yeah, let's do it." So no, it's not difficult. It's
Fair
basically
enough.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd like to talk a bit about show day as well. So for you, from the moment you get up until the show, what's your day normally like?
It's you travel between cities. If you're in North America, that can be like 8, 9 hours in the car. If you're going out west, fortunately in the UK, like usually max out at 4 hours. Usually most drives are shorter than that. Very food centric. Because we're not doing copious amounts of drugs. So like food is very important and yeah, I mean, there's a famous meme I've seen many times on the socials. It's two panels. One is like what people think backstage is like, and what backstage is really like, and what people think it's like Motley Crue and everyone's got coke on their faces and hookers and stuff, and then what backstage is really like is like 4 dudes on their laptops just like sitting there, and that's exactly what it is. So, yeah, I mean, we to be a band that's lasted as long as us, you have to pace yourself. You can't go hard every night, and we learned that fairly early on.
Yeah, no, nice. And what's it like for you, kind of just before you step foot on stage? Is there anything that you have to do or anything you can't do before you go on stage?
No, not me personally. I don't think anyone in the band. I mean, maybe some of the guitar players. I see them like pulling their fingers sometimes to like loosen those up, but we've never had like rituals or. Um, and to be fair, I've never really suffered with either stage fright. I'm blowing up, man. I'm getting texts. Um, Stage fright or feeling like what I'm doing is wildly important. I've had some of the best times when shows go off the rails, like if there's like power outages or something happens, if there's technical problems, I thrive on that. So like I don't fear a bad show. Certainly at this point, I mean, Electric Six can end tomorrow, and I'll be just fine. So when you're not afraid of dying, it's a great feeling.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair
Yeah.
enough. And you've been around for a fair few years since I think that your debut record came out in 2003. How have you and how has the music evolved over those years?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I think me, to have this as a career and have like a cult following since that record, it's and we've been fortunate with Metropolis Records to just be able to turn in whatever record we want at any given time. They don't tell us it needs to sound like this or that this song isn't good. Like we just so it's great to have that kind of artistic freedom. And so that's been great. As far as myself over the years, I mean, I'm better at realizing that um people who are way into our band or people who like have strong opinions about our band, I don't owe them anything. And like it took a long time to to realize that like you don't have to let people get in your head just because they think your band sucks or your band should be doing this or I bought I bought all 10 of your records, now you owe me. Like it takes a long time to get past that and realize that like, if you don't like what we're doing, just don't buy the record and shut up. It's like that's basically it. This isn't anything deeper than that.
Fair enough. No, fair enough.
Yeah.
And obviously, the first record was the one that kind of gave us the classics that we now know in like Gay Bar, as you mentioned, Danger, High Voltage. Did you realize kind of at the time when you were writing and releasing it that you'd still be playing those songs 20, 25 years later?
Uh, no, I mean, yeah, back then, we were just inundated with, you guys are a one-hit wonder. Okay, you guys are a two-hit wonder. Okay, maybe a 2.5 hit wonder, but you guys suck. You guys are clearly aren't going. And to be fair, like on a massive level, that was true. We didn't, and we didn't stay on XL Records. You were not on your television anymore. Um, but I think a lot of people thought the obvious trajectory is like once you get dropped and you're not doing what you were doing, then you must go away. And I always looked at it like, we started from literally nowhere, literally nothing. We went way up high, but we were able to land somewhere in the middle, and that was great for me. Like I'm fine with that. So, motivated me to keep going. I think I've said many times the fact that I got this record deal when I was 30 instead of when I was 20. I had my whole 20s of shit jobs to like give me perspective. Like this is amazing, and you have to give it shot number two, shot number three to keep it going and work hard at it because this is a great job. And so, like, yeah, I think if I didn't have the perspective of that, maybe I would have packed it in. But yeah, I'm really glad, and getting to play with some of these guys for like John Nash, Chris Tate for like 20 years. It's been great.
Yeah, and you've obviously made a career out of it, so it is a big positive. But where you mentioned that you've fallen kind of in that middle zone, was that a kind of looking back? Are you glad that it landed there, or do you wish that it had kept going at the heights of like the first record had been?
Yeah. Overall, I'm glad. I mean, it's been fun, and like I still think we're too big. Like, I mean, I still think I'm too busy. Like, I would like to be less busy. But it's hard to turn down work. So I don't miss at all like being famous or popular or having to do the press or being on tele. I don't miss that. I would like more money. So like if you could like if you could find a way to get me more money, that level of money and like less notoriety, that'd be great.
And I hope you enjoyed the interview there with Electric Six to talk about new music and more. Now, if you're listening to us on Spotify, then you'll be pleased to hear we also have a Spotify playlist. It brings you 150 brand new up-and-coming artists that we feel like you might just enjoy yourselves. And if you want to check that out, search Fresh by The Sound Lab on Spotify or head to the website thesoundlabuk.co.uk and click on the Fresh playlist button. So while you go and check out our playlist and give it a save to listen to later on, of course, we've got our next new interview from AC Scott. She's just released her new record and we had a chat with her all about it. So AC Scott, how are you?
I'm very well indeed. Thank you very much. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks so much. So we've been playing a single of yours called Highlands. Tell us a little bit about the single, first of all.
Well, it's the third single from my debut album, and it's very much a personal song written from the point of view, as you may detect, a Scottish accent. I was born and brought up in the Highlands, and I escaped when I was about 17, and then I would go back home every year, and it became less as you get older and you get involved, with your own life and career and family and whatnot. And it's really about that journey of going home to see your parents over a long period of time and noticing subtle changes and there is a point, a tipping point where you become the parent and the parent becomes more dependent on you. So it's really about that. It was a difficult song to write, but it was very much my experience, which is why, I think where it came from.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And that's off your debut record, which is out now, Out of the Blue. For those who've not had a chance to listen to it yet, tell us a bit about the record itself.
I suppose I'd be described as a singer-songwriter. I play the piano. I wrote all the songs on the record. Two of them were co-writes. And yeah, I didn't sing until 2 years ago, and I didn't write any songs till 2 years ago. So, hence the title of the album, Out of the Blue, because it really has been an unexpected turn of events in my life. So that's where it was born, yeah. And it's been an extraordinary experience putting it together. Quite a few years ago, I was a radio TV presenter and had a big health scare and had to stop broadcasting instantly. And during my recovery, which took some time, I wrote a book, and the book was picked up by Orion Publishing. So whilst the book was out there in the big wide world, I got a phone call from Jason Connery's, Sean Connery's son, out the blue. I keep using that expression in lockdown, and he loved the book and wanted to make it into film. So I was once I realised it wasn't a joke, because obviously I checked it wasn't April the 1st. It sounded like it. So we started working on the screenplay together, and during that period, I would hear a lot of music in my head. I know I sound like I'm completely mad, but always played the piano since I was about 5. So I would be sending him little voice notes of me just playing these little themes on the piano. And he said, it's great, but he said, I've never had that experience working with a screenwriter before. It's maybe something you should explore. So I did. I went on a songwriting weekend in the west coast of Scotland, and there were two mentors there. One was James Grant from Love and Money, well-established Scottish musicians and songwriters, and the other one was Bobby Bluebell, who, under his other name, Robert Hodgins, writes most of Texas's songs. So they encouraged me and said, "Oh yeah, I think you can do this." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." And then I kind of went home, and I think when somebody gives you that kind of endorsement, it gives you a little bit of confidence to follow that path a little bit further. So my first song that I wrote was called Sometimes, which was the first single from the record. And that fell into the ears of an Emmy award-winning songwriter and producer in LA. So he phoned me up and said, "You're a songwriter." And I was like, "Really?" So yeah, because I this health issue that I alluded to, I can't fly. So I decided to sail to the US. So I sailed to the US, which took a week, and then I drove from New York to LA and stayed there for about 12 days and worked with him in his studio, regularly pinching myself, obviously thinking it was a dream, because it was a dream. And yeah, then I drove back another 5,000 miles to get back on the ship and come back to the UK. And so that was really where the real fun and magic began. It was an extraordinary experience.
Yeah, no, it sounds it. And the sound that you've made with this record, is it the sound you wanted, or is it kind of how it turned out as you were writing and recording it?
Yeah, I didn't plan anything actually at all, which is why there's quite a wide different genres, I suppose you might call that, because it's kind of an exploration of all these themes and ideas and songs that have obviously been germinating inside me for a long time. And I've always been an obsessive music fan, so I was brought up with classic jazz really with my dad, and a bit of classical, and then I was loved punk, I loved disco, I loved hip hop. There's really no kind of genre that I've never been drawn to. So I think it's an amalgamation of all those things that have come out in this way. But it certainly wasn't a planned map of how to do an album. There's been a lot of songs that have been written since then, and we had a lot to choose from the album as well. So it's like the dam's broken and all this music is coming out. So yeah, it's very exciting.
No, yeah, absolutely. And what happens to those tracks now then, the ones that didn't quite make the cut? Are they going to be heard, do you think, further down the line, or will it be a case of starting afresh when the time comes?
Well, I've already got my second album kind of sketched out, and it's none of the songs that I wrote in that first sort of batch. So I think what I will do over time is drop them into the DSPs and Spotify, or just get them out there because it might as well be. And then yeah, because I think the more I do it, the more it is beginning to sound probably like a more cohesive sound. The next album will be more definitely sound like one person, whereas this goes from dark disco. One of the tracks has been described as to Highlands, which is a very stripped back, emotive tune. So yeah, I think those songs will see the light of day. They'll be dropped out, but yeah, I've got some yeah, until the energy stops and the songs stop coming, I'm just going to get everything recorded and pick the best ones.
Yeah, no, probably the best way forward, I think, as well. And I'd like to talk a bit about songwriting as well. So for you, how do tracks normally start off?
Well, it can be a little freeze, verbally. If I'm quite often when I'm driving in the car, I think because my brain's in neutral. Although clearly I'm paying attention to the road officer, but you're just not, you're not being distracted by phones or, whatever the noise is that's going around you. So quite often I'm in the car and something will just come into my head and I pull over immediately and get my voice notes and just sing it into my phone. And so that is sometimes when it starts. And sometimes where I sit at my piano is, I live on the coast and I can just see the sea out the window and I just sit in the piano and just just I just play and then something just starts and I kind of hook on to something and I think, well, I quite like that. So it's a very organic process. I don't sit down and plan a song or plan a genre or a speed it just tends to be what's happening at the time. I've just adopted two street dogs from Macedonia, and the latest song that I've done is one called "Broken and Beautiful," and it is about them, but it could be about a human being as well. It can be interpreted in many different ways, but so inspiration comes in a hairy form or in all sorts of different ways.
Hmm. No, most definitely. And obviously, now that the album is out, people will want to see you doing some live shows. What's your plans for doing those?
Yeah, well, the vinyl, blue vinyl, which I can't wait to get my hands on, will be out available from the middle of June. So that's when I'm going to start doing some live stuff. Some in Scotland, hopefully down south as well. And just because I do enjoy playing live, it was the one part I was very nervous about, having been a presenter. It's a very different situation standing with a mic and talking and asking other people questions. But to be the one answering the questions and the one performing was quite a shift. But I followed the advice of all these people that I've been working with, which was just practice, 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 practice. So I did until literally I could have done it if I'd been tied down and had been made to intravenously take half a bottle of scotch. So I actually ended up enjoying it. So now I know that I enjoy it. I'll commit to doing a few live dates and yeah, I hope people like it.
Yeah, no, good. And are you hoping to go further afield as well, overseas maybe at some point as well?
Yeah, I mean, two of the main people that I'm working with, one is Kate Hyman, she's based in New York, and Andrew Rollins is based in LA. Because of the not flying thing, it's a bit of an expedition. It's quite an undertaking. But yeah, I mean, I would love to get down to Nashville to one of the songwriting circles or something like that. That would be a great thing to do. So I just never say no to anything, really. Having had my near-death experience, I'm enjoying being alive, not being 25, and grabbing every opportunity I can.
Yeah, do it absolutely. And obviously, you've touched on the presenting side, the writing, the film work, and obviously now you've jumped into the music side of things. Are you planning on kind of continuing a bit of everything, or do you have a specific direction you're planning on going in the future, or is music the thing now? Or
Well, I think music for me was always the thing. I just didn't quite know in what direction I would go because I was a DJ, radio DJ for a number of years, and then I did some, TV work. I did documentaries about various bands for various TV stations. So it's always been about the music because I just adore, as I say, all types and genres and everything about it. But it was probably it was all leading to this, but it took me a while to get here. So no, I'm not intending to do, to diversify any further. I think I've finally found my thing. It's taken a while.
And I hope you enjoyed the interview there with AC Scott to talk about new music and more. Now, if you are enjoying all of today's interviews, then you can hear them once again on our Future Hits radio show. It brings you all of today's interviews in an edited form alongside a live session and loads of brand new music, and it's called Future Hits. If you want to check out that show alongside our other shows, Pop Punk Party and This Christmas, then check out the website, thesoundlabuk.co.uk, click International Radio Shows, and it'll take you to our Mixcloud account, the SoundLab UK. So while you go and check out all of our radio shows, we've got our final new interview, and it comes from Sean Griffin. He too has been busy releasing new music, and we had a chat with him all about it. So Sean Griffin, how are you?
I'm doing well. Good morning or afternoon there. How you doing, Jim?
Not too bad, yeah, doing well, thanks. And we've been playing a single of yours called Space Girls. Tell us a bit about the single, first of all.
Well, yeah, Space Girls is an exciting story about the most handsome man in the universe getting stolen by space women every night.
Fair enough. No,
it's kind of got like a bit of a surf. It's kind of got a bit of a surf sci-fi sound to it, and yeah, it's just one I had sitting around in my notebook for ages, and wanted to get around to it, and finally did. So it was lots of fun.
Yeah, I can well imagine. And that's off your debut solo record, which is out now. People Are Mad is what it is called. So for those who've not heard it yet, tell us a bit about the record itself.
People Are Mad is a real compilation. It's very story driven. Lots of different influences. Lots of songs have very different sounds one from the other. Kind of genre wise, it's kind of cross genre in a lot of ways. And yeah, it's an album. It's my first solo record after being in the Ruffians for almost 30 years. So it was nice getting to do something on my own, and got to work with some phenomenal players and people. Kenny Siegel was the producer. He's just great, and as was everyone who worked in the project. So very fortunate to finally get it out.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. And the sound that you made with the record, is it the sound you wanted, or is it kind of how it turned out as you were writing and recording it?
Oh, yeah, that's always a good question. I'd say probably the latter. I mean, so as far as like, so the things that I knew I wanted us to all be playing live together. So we tracked everything live. A lot of the, like, for example, like the vocals on Space Girls, that's from a live take. There's not, that wasn't like overdubbed and, all the crazy things that people are doing nowadays. So we very much captured it live. So that part of it is what I really wanted to do. But as we were going along, yes, it kind of evolved, and always open to the creative process and how things can kind of change through that. Got a really fantastic harmonica player on that, Andrew Parker, and that was really great having him sit in. I think he brought it to a whole nother level of fun.
Yeah, good, good. And I'm sure you wrote more than what made it onto the record. What happens to those now? Is it a case of trying them again down the line, or will it be a case of starting afresh when the time comes?
Oh gosh. Well, for me, songs are kind of like kids. So even if they're ugly children, they still need to see the light of day. So when you work with the producer, a lot of times, in my case on this one, he went through about 50 songs, and he kind of just said, "Hey, these are things that, not that the other ones aren't good. These are just ones that I know that I could do something with, or that he heard something in." So we did that. So, um, you know, I might represent some of those songs to him at some point, or maybe work with someone else for the next lot. They might have a very different take on it.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned being in the Ruffians as well. What was it like writing for yourself rather than for the band?
It was great. some of the songs we've done with the Ruffians, and some of these were like kind of a different take, but some of them were just, yeah, it was just nice. It was just great, just being able to not have to worry like, oh, does this sound Irish enough? Is this gonna fit in squarely with this or that? It was just here are the songs, and we're gonna do them. So that was great. Just a song for song's sake, which can be different when you're in a project. You're kind of always writing for that project. So yeah, it is very freeing for sure.
Yeah. So when you were sitting down to write for your solo project, did anything come out that you went, this is more ruffian stuff, or was it simply, no, this is my project that I'm writing for. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, there were definitely a couple like that. Absolutely. I think a song I had on there, "Nothing," is kind of a very kind of personal ballad, and it's not that the Ruffians wouldn't have done it, but it just doesn't really sit, with kind of a lot of the rowdy drinking stuff that we do. So it was nice. Um, yeah, and again, the guys in the Ruffians are great. They could certainly have backed it and done it, but no, it was just one of those things that was like, this is a little more personal, and um, a song like "Be My Girl," we've done a version of it with the Ruffians, but we never did it. We haven't done it a lot in the last few years, and it is just one of those things where it's kind of a personal romantic ballad, and the guys would kind of look at you like, all right, all right, we're doing this one, okay, so.
No,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I'd like to talk a bit more about the writing process as well. So, for you, how do tracks normally start off?
I don't have one method personally. Sometimes like a conversation like we're having now, like there might be like a turn of a phrase or a certain word or something that might stick out, and I may say, "Oh, I like how that sounds," and I might try to use that as a hook and put a melody behind it and kind of build a song off of a lyrical idea like that. Um, Sometimes I'll just have a melodic idea, and just kind of flesh it out that way, and even just kind of mouth singing it. Sometimes even when you do that, like a certain words will kind of pop out, and once you have like one word, then it starts kind of revealing itself to you. But these days. I'm much more like right in my car kind of person, as opposed to like sitting down in my music room and or at the piano and just really kind of banging it out that way. More often than not, I'm kind of writing on the go. So that's how I've been coming up with a lot of things of late.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And speaking of being on the go, you've got some shows coming up. Tell us a bit about your plans this year and doing some gigs.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, I had been over in London back in October. I'm hoping to get back over. Just trying to work out some shows right now. Um, and I have a college. I'm playing tomorrow in uni over in Pennsylvania, and Commonwealth, and then I've got a few shows in the city coming up the following week, and City Winery. I'm doing that, and down in the village, and yeah, pretty much now through the fall, just trying to piece together as many shows as I can, and it's always an ongoing process. Whenever they come in, I'll take them.
Yeah, I bet. And is there anywhere that you've not been to before that you want to get to at some point?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Gosh, there's so many places. Just even I mean, even here, the States is just so big. I've gotten like as far west as like Ohio, which isn't really that far. So I'd like to get further west at some point. Um, I've kind of mo focused more in the Northeast. I'd like to get out more towards Boston. I haven't been to Boston as much as I used to, be back in the day. And yeah, just pretty much any and everywhere. But yeah, and I'm very much looking forward to. I'm trying to piece together something in Ireland at some point. Um, so that is something I'm trying to get to go together. And yeah, those are the ones I think I'm most mindful of.
Yeah, good. And let's talk a bit more about show day as well. So, for you, what does a show day look like from the moment you get up until the show itself?
Well, I usually have a list of stuff from my wife that she wants me to do around the house before I'm leaving her alone for the day with 6 children. So I try to diligently get those things done as quickly as possible. Um, Hopping in the car last minute, getting out. Sometimes realizing, do I have that guitar in the car? Yeah. Um, and then usually drink about a gallon of water for the day of a show. Um, and I like to get there early. I try to get to the show about an hour, hour and a half before the show starts. So I have time to warm up. I always, do vocal warm ups and that kind of thing. And yeah, that's it. I mean, I use it as I don't really do dairy and things like that on days that I'm singing, so or caffeine. So and I've been off the sauce for about 13 years, so I don't know, it's starting to feel more penitential. Just very but no, it's yeah, that's it. I'm just kind of, getting there early and warming up and trying to stay healthy. That's pretty much it. Um I'm very used to getting in the car and driving upwards of 5 hours to do a show and then coming back. Like tomorrow, I'm driving out 4.5 hours, doing a 3 hour show, and then driving back 4.5 hours. So it'll be a busy day.
Yeah, no, that sounds busy, but I think that's normal for artists in the US, isn't it? Whereas it's unheard of over here.
Yeah, it's funny. The label over there is Right Track. They're out of London, who's doing with the record, and yeah, we have these conversations all the time. I'm just like, you guys, well, Scotland's not that far, and they're just like, what are you talking about? Like, you get in the car and drive almost 5, 6 hours? Like, yeah, that's what you do.
Yeah, too far, too far.
So yeah, it's very common. It's very common. But you go where the work is.
No,
I
yeah,
mean,
very
you
true.
don't want to wear. It's hard not to wear out your own town. So it helps to kind of spread it out.
And I hope you enjoyed the interview there with Sean Griffin to talk about new music and more. Now, this is the part of the show where we like to throw back in time, and we're doing so back a couple of years, back to 2023, where we had a little chat with the band One Ok Rock. This is what they had to say. So, One Ok Rock, how are you?
Good, good. How are you?
Good, not too bad. Thanks so much. You're in London as part of your tour. You looking forward to tonight?
Yeah, I'm very excited for tonight. It's been a while, like doing show in London, and also like ticket is sold out. So pretty much everything big. So like amazing.
Good, excellent. And you've been doing some dates across Europe to kick things off over the last month. How have those shows been?
Oh, it's really good so far. I mean, we're doing like different type of a tour like at the same time for now in Europe, like with the Muse huge stadium tour with the and our headliner shows. But both of them like really great. It works. So like I'm pretty much everything like I've been having really good time.
Yeah, good. And mentioning being out with Muse, how have those shows been, and what was it like being asked to be on tour with them?
When we were young, we were all the time looked up them and also listened their music. So it's pretty much kind of weird still. Like I'm feeling like kind of a little weird, but like they're so nice, and also their crowd was so insane. So I mean, like, I'm really happy to part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're doing this tour in support of your latest record, which came out last year, Luxury Disease. For those who haven't heard the record yet, tell us a little bit about the album.
Luxury Disease was like kind of, it's been a while doing approach to like a rock music actually, like the before the album is called Eye of the Storm Wars. It's pretty pop album, and also after like US and Japan tour, after that the COVID-19 get fucking happened. So like we've thinking about a lot of things about COVID, about life, everything. So that's why we need to do something like different approach with the rock music to the audience. So like I mean it's pretty much positive way, but like I finally feel like okay, let's do fucking rock and roll right now.
Yeah, and the sounds that you created, the rock sounds that you decided to put onto this record, was it the plan to go in to create rock music, or did it simply turn out that way?
ロックに自然となった、それとも最初からロックやろうぜっていう。
I mean, I decided like let's do the rock before the making luxury disease. But at the same time, I was kind of little, afraid of to do like too much hard rock music because like the before the album was pretty super pop. So some of the fans like call like One Ok pop. So like I mean, kind of like really sometimes really hard to do like return to more rock music from that album, but we have so many good like rock people and also producers, writing session also, like everything was really cool, so that's why we made it this like kind of Rockway album.
Yeah, most definitely. And you've released a fair number of records now since your debut back in 2007. How have you and how has the band evolved as musicians over the years?
We just doing all the time like touring and make some music just over and over again. It doesn't feel anything about actually changed feel, but like we did a lot of successful like in Japan before. So now, I mean, not now, but like I was trying to do more breaking through in some of the country. But I think it's after the COVID-19, I feel a lot of things and I got learned a lot of things. So like, I'm not really interested about like anymore about like, breaking through some of the, countries. If they have some fans, we just go there to play some music, like do concert. If it doesn't, we don't have some fans over there, we're not gonna do it. Like it's very simple things right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when it comes to writing the music that goes onto your records, how do the tracks tend to start off for you? Is it a lyric first? Is it a vocal melody? Is it a riff? How do tracks normally start?
Usually the melody is first, then like all the time I have a huge theme for albums. So like some of the Japanese people and American people, one of my friends doing like listen my words with the Japanese, then they're gonna try to translate to the English. Then I'm gonna just like make some papers or like some themes with the English. Then some producers or like members like writers gonna see everything, then they're gonna know about, okay, the Takazu wants to something say about this one with the English lyrics, then they can try to like put some like good lyrics stuff songs.
Yeah, good. And as you're on tour at the moment, you've just got the one date in the UK. Are you hoping to be back over here anytime soon?
I really want to come back to here. I mean, as soon as I can. But definitely we need to make some really new cool music. Then we want to tour again back in Europe. So also like in London too. But after this tour, definitely I'm gonna jump in onto like more like serious like rock, something like a new rock music. Then we're gonna make it some new album. So like just waiting for us.
Yeah. Good. And you've toured all over the world, but there must be places you haven't played yet. Where would you like to take your music to that you haven't played before?
This one?
まあやったことない多分街とか国とか。
ベニューじゃなくて。
ベニューでもいいと思うけどね。
I think this is gonna be first time touring in Spain. This is our first time playing in Spain for this time. Yeah, and also that's very excited too, and also wants to do like the arena shows tour in the world. That's the next the dream and goals. Maybe so far now, like kind of like that way.
And I hope you enjoyed the interview there with One Ok Rock from 2023. And that's the end of the show for another week, I am afraid. But don't worry, we will be back next week with more interviews. But if you can't wait until then, social media at The Sound Lab, yes, on all the socials. And you can give us some follows on there. And make sure you check out the website, of course, thesoundlabuk.co.uk. And we'll be back for another episode of interviews unedited next week. Goodbye.